Are we part of the problem?
Now, something that frustrates us as Indian cricket fans is of how the quality of Indian cricket broadcast has taken a huge dip in the last 5 to 7 years. The commentary, the mid shows, the pundits talking about technique and stuff, it's just gone downhill. So we're going to highlight 3 problems that we think there is with the Indian cricket broadcast.
Now, the first and most obvious point is how players are sensationalized today. Now, we've seen a lot of players like Shubman Gill and Yashasvi Jaiswal in recent times do really well with the bat. They've scored a lot of runs. But sometimes in commentary, the commentators really go overboard with their praise of a certain player, not just Gill or Jaiswal. Obviously, there are youngsters coming through the rank, and the commentators end up using superlatives like these guys are the best in the world. And it's just something that leads to a lot of toxicity, mostly on social media, and it adds undue pressure on the players is what we feel. And the fact is, this does not even necessarily pertain to a certain innings, a certain good innings that a player plays. It even comes down to someone playing a shot. For example, if Shubman Gill were to play some kind of reverse sweep, Sanjay Manjrekar would go out of his way to say that he's the best sweeper in the world right now and stuff like that, which really does not make that much sense. And in a way, it misleads people who are just getting into cricket, trying to understand the sport.
Bits and by pieces, he just ripped me apart today.
And hoping to pick up stuff from commentary.
Now, addressing the title itself, addressing Bazball, I think the goal of the England team, while talking about the way they talk about winning matches and chasing targets or setting up a target or whatever, is to get in the mindset of the opposition. And I don't know about the Indian players because they don't talk about this openly, but it surely has gone on top of the pundits' head, the Indian commentators, the Indian ex-cricketers who are now on panels talking about the sport, because they cannot stop talking about Bazball. It's either appreciating it, which is fair because it's, I don't know if it's a new style of play, but it's a style of play that England cricket hasn't seen. That's why there's so much hype about it. Or it's breaking it down and talking about how India has broken it down and India has given it back. I think it's so bizarre. I think it's so unnecessary. We are winning matches. The Indian team is winning matches. It would have made sense in the first or second test match because it's happening for the first time in India and whatever.
Thanks for watching this far into the video. If you've liked what you've seen and if you have any opinions that you want to share in the comments or any instances of commentary that you think we've missed out on where the commentators have royally screwed up, definitely let us know. Like, share, subscribe. And yeah, keep watching.
But we are approaching the end of the series and the commentators are still going on about the same thing again and again. They're having the same discussions. Nick Knight, Graham Swan are trying to defend their style of play, where Shastri and Manjrekar are trying to give it back like they are talking about. It's just nonsense. It's unnecessary, and I think people just need to move on.
Now, something that we've also observed is the lack of knowledgeable post-match or pre-match shows or even mid-match shows for that matter. I remember growing up as a kid when we used to watch a lot of broadcasts. There were a lot of technical shows that used to take place. There used to be proper demonstrations with slow motions and all of that as to what is happening, how a certain batsman is playing. And obviously, I do understand that as the times have progressed, there is a need for these broadcasting shows to adapt to the current crowd and the current audience they're pulling. But at the same time, just imagine there's some young kid growing up in some part of the world actively using social media, and they just kind of don't understand the exact technicalities of the game and they end up spreading hate on social media. That's one point. And obviously for a young kid looking to learn from the sport, the best way is probably to watch cricket that's happening and then to pick up from knowledgeable commentators or the panels. And that's something that is definitely, I feel, missing from the game at the moment.
Now, something that's discussed almost all the time is Indian commentary and how the commentators are and how it's time for a change in the commentary box. We like a certain number of commentators, we dislike a certain number of commentators, which is all fine. Now, a lot of what we talked about before this is almost like a summary to what the Indian commentary box is like. There's a lot of sensationalization. There's also a lack of information. There are times when commentators have the need to talk about technique when they themselves aren't well versed. I have 2 instances in mind, and one of them was in this test series where Dinesh Karthik was talking about how Akshar Patel got Johnny Bairstow out bowled, and according to Dinesh Karthik, it had a lot to do with Akshar Patel's height, whereas it didn't. And it's not because we say it didn't, it's just common knowledge for a cricket fan who knows test cricket and technique that it didn't. Because even Jadeja, there's been a lot of instances where Jadeja or Keshav Maharaj, for example, they've got similar dismissals. It's not anything to do with the height, but the release point and the angle at which the ball is being released. And the second instance is very recently where Murali Karthik was talking to Ashwin about a new action, and Ashwin gave a reply of how this is not a new action. He's been doing this for a while and he does this in particular situations. And so there are times when commentators have the need to bring out these questions or the points where they have to break things down technically. Whereas it's just misinformation. And like Praatibh said, when there's a kid watching and he wants to learn, he learns all of this and he's not learning the accurate information, which I think is the last thing you should do as a commentator. If you don't know technique, don't go into technique. You have other styles, you have other ways of expressing what the game is. That's what commentary is about.
Now, of course, we don't mean to attack every commentator or every panel or every broadcast that is out there, but it's fairly obvious that there has been some loss in quality in recent years in how these guys go about their business. And just from a standpoint of us being avid cricket fans and wanting the best for the sport, it does make sense for these commentators to probably do a little bit more homework, as we saw also in the Under-19 World Cup, where the commentary panels were just brilliant, especially Ian Bishop, the kind of background work he did on each player. Now, obviously, we can't expect that from every commentator, but I think there is a general consensus that the qualities have gone down and that we would like for the commentators to be a little better at what they're doing.
Now that's been our video. Like, share and subscribe. 90% of you guys haven't subscribed. Please subscribe. It always helps us. We have a blog where we actively post articles. So go and check it out. We have Instagram, we have Twitter. We are active all the time or everywhere. So yeah, follow us there. Thank you so much for watching.